Chapter 29:11. She silently noted this down and even thanked her brother-in-law. Sheng Ying gave her a smile. Gong Jinglin braced himself and said, "Auntie, what's going on?" Ying called his aunt big sister, and he called her auntie. No matter how he thought about it, he was still one generation lower. So, should he bring up the matter of marrying Ying as soon as possible? If she married him, they would be of the same generation. He would call her big sister and auntie together. Tang Ying could not say anything, so she could only go and see Tanghua. Tanghua doesn't have anything to worry about, and only she knows that both of them had the same dream. Therefore, she told him the truth, saying that the family Tang suddenly gave up on her and sold her. Although there were still many suspicious points, Gong Jinglin did not care about these. Of course, he knew why the family Tang suddenly changed their attitude. He remembered something else. In the first dream, the Tang family had died, but he didn't mention it. However, he heard that she once had an older sister who married a minister counselor. Later, there was a plague in that county, and she also died in that plague. In the second dream, the family Tang had followed her to the capital, but the family Tang uncle had a daughter who seemed to have married a local minister counselor. Later, Tang Ying's cousin asked for help, and Tang Ying even came forward to ask about that matter. The first dream was about her sister, and the second dream was about her cousin. After thinking about it for a while, he knew why. Tang Ying ate the chicken banquet very happily. Tang Ying was happy to know that the Tang family farm belonged to Tanghua and that they were doing so well. She did not mention the family Tang to avoid making everyone unhappy. Gong Jinglin had many doubts, but he did not ask. After experiencing that strange dream, Tanghua might have experienced some miracles. After eating, they went to the mountain for a walk. Tang Ying could tell that Tanghua liked this kind of life very much, and she was sincerely happy. When she left, she was still a little reluctant. "If you like it here, come often," Tanghua said. "Just now, you saw that the hens here are lining up to lay eggs for me, right?" Tang Ying could not help but laugh and nodded repeatedly. "I saw it. Big sister's chickens are delicious and beautiful. Remember when you gave me an egg?" Tanghua smiled and said, "At that time, I was thinking that one day, I would raise a group of hens and line up to lay eggs for me." Tang Ying was dumbfounded. It can't be, right? Could it be that Big Sister's original intention of opening the farm was this? Gong Jinglin was also stunned. Was there such a thing? At that time, I thought the eggs were too delicious. Later on, I raised chickens. The little fool likes to eat rabbits, so I raised some rabbits. The little fool seemed to like eating beef jerky, so it would be good to raise some cows. We have cows and rabbits, ducks, and pigs. Whatever you want to eat, we have it at home. I heard about it from my great-aunt. One day, Aunt said that she wanted to drink mutton soup. Gong Jinglin was speechless. The next day, she sent someone to buy lambs. He thought that only little lambs came from that. He didn't expect that she was the one who wanted to eat it from the start. His uncle wanted to eat it. The few of them looked at each other, and then they all laughed. Before leaving, Tang Ying whispered to Tanghua, "Big sister, I think brother-in-law's illness is not as serious as we thought. We can let the doctor take a look. You see, brother-in-law actually knows a lot. Maybe he just matured a little later." "Ying, do you have any thoughts?" Of course, Tanghua knew that Sheng Yin was not particularly stupid. Just as Tang Ying said, he matured a little later. If he did not receive treatment, he might stay like this forever. Crossover, female supporting character, calm down crossover, female supporting character, calm down reading address, 103791 crossover, female supporting character, calm down download address crossover, female supporting character, calm down reading address, 103791. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the collection record below. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Like crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Please recommend this book to your friends, blogs, and WeChat. Thank you for your support. Chapter 29:12. Mother has already looked for many doctors to take a look at the little fool. What Tanghua meant was that even if Shang Yin's condition did not look serious, the doctors here still could not solve his problem. She did not have much thoughts about this. Whether it was the little fool who had become stupid or the little fool who had become smart, the little fool who only had eyes for her was a good little fool. Regardless of whether he had become smart or not, She felt that he was quite smart. Tang Ying thought differently. Her elder sister was such a good person, and her brother-in-law was also so good. Why couldn't they think of a way to make her brother-in-law really get better? She had been a traditional Chinese medicine doctor for generations, and there were also cases of this kind of illness being cured. That was why she brought this up. Elder sister, I've already learned medicine from someone, and now I can be considered to have some achievements. Tang Ying thought for a moment and said, I once saw brother-in-law's illness in a medical book. I plan to go back and look for you when I have news. Tang Hua knew that Tang Ying would think this way, so she did not refuse. She was the female lead, so she definitely had a halo. Even if Tang Ying immediately said that she could cure her little fool, she would not be surprised. Who knew what magical methods the heavens had given her? Tang Ying left with Gong Jinglin anxiously. Her mind was filled with thoughts of how to cure Shangyin. Tang Hua watched them leave. She turned around and saw Shangyin looking at her seriously. Little fool, do you want to become smart? Become smart? What do you mean by becoming smart? Tang Hua thought for a moment and felt that this question was a little difficult. Even a fool would not think that he was stupid. He would probably think that he was quite smart. Let's go play. It was better to throw the matter of becoming smart aside. System. What a little fool. If you become smart, many things will be different. For example, when you sleep with your wife, it will be different. Hee. The family Tang people stopped for a few days. Tang Ying's medicine shop had been opened with Gong Jinglin's help. Because the family Tang people had been watching her, she could not leave and come to Tang Hua's place. She spent most of her time in the drugstore. If she wasn't treating patients, she was thinking about how to treat mental illnesses. In fact, she had her own selfish motives. She did not want the family to know about Tang Hua's situation so that they would not make a fuss. But since they were all in the capital, they would eventually bump into each other. One day, the two brothers, Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing, saw Tang Hua get on the magnificent carriage with their own eyes. She was even holding the hand of the silly young master from before. Most importantly, they recognized the horse carriage. It was the horse carriage that the princess consort, who was also the boss of the Tang family, had been in. Since they could not chase after him, they could only turn around and return to the family Tang club. They told the family about this matter. Did you really see it clearly? Madame Wu jumped up and said, Are the people who got into the carriage really that girl, Tang Hua, and that foolish young master who bought her? Mrs. Li's eyes widened. The family Tang family members who had been reborn could not believe that this was true. Mrs. Zhang hesitated. Perhaps they know the princess consort and the princess consort? But when the curtain of the carriage was lifted, I saw with my own eyes that there was no one inside, Tang Pingshan said. Tang Pingqing added, I also heard the people around me call them the princess consort and the princess consort. The family Tang family members fell silent. They looked at each other and stared. For a moment, they did not know how to react. Mother, if this is true, then that girl is really lucky. Mrs. Li's expression did not look good. A random fool turned out to be the princess consort. How can she be so lucky? Tang Fingxiu frowned and said, Go and find out more. Don't make a mistake. The people in the capital are all nobles. If you make a mistake, we can't afford to offend them. The incident with Mrs. Li had taught them a lesson. Transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down full text address, 103791 transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down download address, transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down full text address, 103,791 inches order to make it easier for you to read it next time. You can click on the collection record below. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Like transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Please recommend this book to your friends, blogs, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. 13. When the few people who had been reborn heard this, their expressions changed. That's right, if it wasn't for the fact that he forgot his roots, wouldn't their old family be rich? Why wasn't their Yingying the one who became the princess consort of Rongping? If their Yingying was the Junwang Fei, she definitely would not forget them. If their Yingying had such a big farm, she would definitely lead the entire family Tang to a life of luxury. But why was it that girl who had forgotten her roots? The family Tang people were indignant here. Tanghua and Shang Yin had already sat in the carriage and slowly returned to the city. When the sky turned dark, the city gate would be closed. Under normal circumstances, they couldn't enter again. The sound of the carriage wheels came from afar. The family Tang people, who were originally a little sleepy, suddenly woke up. After waiting for so long, was it finally time? Chapter 29:14. When the luxurious horse carriage appeared in front of them and the sky was about to turn dark, they opened their eyes wide and tried to see who would be getting off the carriage. Shang Yin got off the carriage first, then turned around and held Tanghua's hand. In fact, Shang Yin did not know how to do this at first, but he learned it when he saw that many people in the capital would get off the carriage first and then help the women in the carriage. Since then, even if Tanghua wanted to get off the carriage first, he would not let her. He insisted that she get off the carriage first and then help her down. Host, the family Tang people are outside your house. They are all watching you. They probably found out about your identity and are here to look for you. The system kindly reminded her, even though it knew that Tanghua did not care about the life and death of the family Tang people. Tanghua looked ahead. Sure enough, next to the mansion, she saw a few people staring at them without blinking. Wife, let's go home and sleep. Shang Yin was a little sleepy. He held Tanghua's hand and yawned. He could not help but quicken his pace. It would be strange if he was not tired after playing in the mountains for the whole day. When the two of them reached the entrance of the mansion and were about to go in, the family Tang people immediately blocked Tanghua's way. I told you it was eldest sister, and it really is. I told you I was right. Tang Pingshan looked at Tanghua with a pair of thick eyebrows and big eyes. His gaze was complicated and a little longing. Longing for what? Glory and wealth, of course. Even if he could not become an official, the value of the Tang family's farm made him very jealous. Guo, it's really you. Madame Li looked at Tanghua with a face full of smiles. I told you before that this young master is good. Look, when have I ever lied to you? Your two biological brothers have arranged such a good marriage for you. Why didn't you send a letter home all these years? Previously, it was Tang Fingxiu who suggested to give this girl another chance. If she did not forget her roots like she did in her previous life, they would be magnanimous and forgive her for the mistakes she made in the past. After all, they were all family Tang people. There was no obstacle that could not be overcome. Everyone had been through so much and had been reborn. It would be unreasonable if the family continued to quarrel. Everyone agreed to Tang Fingxiu's suggestion. Yes, they were all family. There was no need to quarrel. As the saying goes, harmony breeds wealth. The Tang family's farm was a big business now. If they quarrel, wouldn't it affect the business? Once the family sat down for a meal, they would be able to have a meal, and they would be able to take care of the farm. Tanghua's family. Tanghua glanced at the Tang family members. Looking at their fervent eyes, she coldly said, I already said that we were even on that day. You asked for 150 taels and gave up on me. So, I am no longer part of the family Tang people. Guo, you are telling the truth. What do you mean by no longer part of the family Tang people? Isn't your surname Tang? Madame Wu smiled and walked up to Tanghua. Her face was full of love, as if the person in front of her was Tang Ying. Guo, are you still angry? Tell me, what is this all about? Didn't Grandma want you to be well? She knew that the royal prince's status was not ordinary. She married you to him so that you could live a good life. Look, aren't you living a good life now? If it weren't for your two brothers and our agreement, would you be able to have everything you have today? Chapter 29:15. Tanghua was so angry that she almost laughed. Although she knew that the family Tang people were shameless, this shamelessness had really broken the bottom line of shamelessness. Could it be that her good life now was all thanks to this family? You really know how to flatter yourself. Although my surname is Tang, it's not your family's Tang. There are many people with the surname Tang in the world, not just your family. Wife, sleepy. Shang Yin seemed to feel the malice from the family Tang people and pulled Tanghua inside. Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing hurriedly stopped them and said, Eldest sister, you can't forget your roots like this. You've enjoyed glory and wealth, and now you've forgotten your birth. Shang Yin felt Tang was unhappiness, so he flung his sleeves at the two and shouted, Get lost. Her appearance was extremely fierce, but her appearance was a little cute and not intimidating at all. Royal Prince, although eldest sister is the royal princess consort, she's still our younger sister. You still have to call us eldest brother and second brother. I'm afraid it's not right for you to do this, Tang Pingshan said. Shang Yin turned back to look at Tanghua. Tanghua said to him, "They're not my eldest brother and second brother. I don't have a father, a mother, or a brother. I only have you, little fool." Shang Yin understood and his expression became fierce again. "Get out of my way. Don't block my wife's way." After saying that, he waved his hand. "Stop them. Don't let them come over and bully my wife." When the guards heard Shang Yin's order, of course, they immediately stopped the family Tang people. "Little fool, well done. They're all bad people. Don't be polite to them when you meet them in the future." Tanghua's lips curled up slightly. She held Shang Yin's hand and ran briskly back to the residence, completely ignoring the family Tang people's ugly expressions. "You unfilial daughter!" Tang Baolin shouted. "We raised you for nothing. We knew you were an ingrate." Tanghua looked back. "Go ahead and scold me. Scold me for the rest of your life. You won't get anything from me." She smiled and said, "We're all 1,000-year-old foxes, so let's not play games here. We all know what you're thinking. I only have one answer. In your dreams. In your dreams. Close the door." Tanghua waved her hand, and the door of the mansion was immediately closed. The Tang family members looked at the door that was ruthlessly shut. They were so angry that they gritted their teeth and stomped their feet. They stood there and cursed for a long time. "Ungrateful wretch, a little bitch who forgot her roots." Madame Wu was so angry that she cursed, "If I had known, I would have killed her." None of the reborn family Tang dynasty members retorted. That was what they thought as well. "Then what should we do? We can't go in, so there's really nothing we can do about him." Madame Li looked at the grand entrance of the royal prince's manor. The entrance was already so big, so the residence inside must be even bigger. Anyway, it was better than the one they were living in now. She was extremely vexed. Why wasn't romping commandery princess consort their family's obedient and filial Ying? Why did it have to be this girl? It's getting dark. Let's go back and discuss this. Tang Fingxiu was also very angry, but there was nothing he could do for the time being. After all, the other party was romping commandery princess consort. How could they fight against her? "I say, that girl of yours is really lucky. In her previous life, she married a minister counselor. In this life, she casually married a fool, and he became romping commandery prince." Madame Zhang said to Madame Li sourly, "Why don't our two girls have that kind of luck?" Only Tang Xing picked up what Tanghua left behind. Chapter 29:16. Now that she got nothing, she was a little annoyed. She had been reborn for so long, but she hadn't seen the glory and wealth she had been looking forward to. The appearance of the family Tang did not affect Tanghua at all. It was just that when she went out of the city every few days, she would always meet the family on the road. She completely ignored the other party's scorching gaze. During this period, the family Tang even wanted to stop the carriage and talk to her. Before she spoke, her little fool fiercely commanded the people, "Protect my wife. Tell them to get out of here. Drive them all away." Shang Yin had already seen that his wife was unhappy with the appearance of the family Tang. Since his wife was unhappy, it was better for the family Tang to not show up. Therefore, Tanghua didn't interfere in this matter. She would let the little fool do something about this matter. Every time he did something, the little fool would hold his head high and show her an expression as if he was asking for credit. He was so cute that she couldn't help pinching his face and kissing him. As a result, the little fool fiercely drove the family Tang away every time, turned around, pointed at his face, and asked her to kiss him. System. She underestimated the little fool. The family Tang had no way to stop Tanghua, so they didn't come to her for a few days. However, a few days later, there was a rumor in the capital that the princess had forgotten her roots and was unfilial. For this reason, Great Elder Princess came in person to ask about the situation. After hearing Tanghua's explanation, Great Elder Princess was a little angry. This family is really shameless. Great Elder Princess was not a soft-hearted person. Although she believed in Buddhism and looked kind, many people had been defeated by her. However, this matter is still bad for your reputation. I don't think you care about it, but you are the boss of the Tang family's farm, and it has a lot to do with it. Great Elder Princess said, "So, your reputation has to be good. Tell me, how can I help you?" "Mother, don't worry. I have already thought of a countermeasure." Great Elder Princess smiled and said, "I know you are so smart that you won't be manipulated by them. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to sue them." Great Elder Princess was stunned. "How?" "Sue them for talking nonsense and slandering me. I am the princess consort of Romping Commandery Princess. How can they insult me so casually? Speaking of which, I am also a relative of the imperial family, am I not, Mother?" Great Elder Princess nodded and said, "Then you need evidence to sue them?" "Yes," Tangwa replied. Of course she did. There were so many people in Family Tang Village who were still alive. Weren't they all like that? Did she really give the medicine away for free? When she left, she alarmed the entire village. Was it for nothing? When she left the county town, she even went to the yamen to get a travel permit and told them that the family Tang had sold her for 150 taels of silver. However, her little fool really wanted to marry her, so there was no slave contract. In the county, she had already erased her household registration and made a new one. At this time, the household registration system was not perfect. Officials could be bought and sold, not to mention household registration. The rumors in the capital continued, and Tang Ying knew about it. Because of this, she even had a quarrel with the family Tang people. The family Tang people scolded Tangwa badly, but they were very gentle to her and didn't mean to scold her at all, which made her very helpless. 2 months later, Tangwa sued the family Tang people. The family Tang people all came to the capital to testify for Tangwa. Chapter 29:17. Originally, the people of Family Tang Village did not want to come. However, the person who was sent to invite them was the same person who took out the medicine that saved their lives. At that time, many people in the county were infected with the plague. The people of Family Tang Village who went out also came back infected. The plague was so scary that it could kill people in a short time. Just when they were at their wits' end, a person with the medicine appeared and saved the people in the county, including Family Tang Village. At that time, the other party only said that they came from the capital and that a noble had spent a lot of money to ask someone to make the medicine to cure the plague. They did not expect that this noble was actually Tangwa. Because they knew the person who took out the medicine, they did not suspect that the other party was lying at all. Only those who had died once and experienced the whole city being sealed at that time. They heard that once they died, they would be burned down. Only then would they understand how important it was to be alive. Therefore, they came. They heard that Family Tang Village slandered Tangwa for being unfilial and forgetting her roots. This matter spread like wildfire in the capital. The county magistrate also heard about this matter and specially asked his advisor to bring the evidence to the capital. Therefore, when Tangwa sued Family Tang Village and the case was tried in the emperor's throne room, the entire capital was shocked. Later, they heard that the people who testified for Tangwa were the entire Family Tang Village. They were even more incredulous. They also heard that the county magistrate sent evidence about the change in household registration of Tangwa. When Tangwa left, she was sold by Family Tang Village for 150 taels of silver. It was just as the villagers said. There was only a palanquin carried away. There was no matchmaker or etiquette. If this was not selling, what was it? In the throne room, Family Tang Village was defeated. The evidence is conclusive. The Tang Family Tang Village's slander of Princess Romping is true. Drag them out and give each of them 30 beatings. 30 beatings were already very heavy. This family would have to lie on the bed for a while. 50 strokes of the plank could kill someone. Just like that, the Family Tang people pestering Tangwa came to an end. Originally, they thought that they could make the Tangwa submit, but they did not expect that not only did they not succeed, but they were also beaten. The family Tang was furious, but there was nothing they could do. Tang Ying did not say anything about this. She had tried to persuade them many times, but the Tang family refused to listen. Seeing that they were lying motionless, she could only arrange for 2 people to take care of them. The people from the Tang family kept telling her that she had to work harder and surpass Tangwa in the future. Tang Ying only felt a little tired in her heart. No wonder Big Sister didn't care about their feelings. How could she care about them when they were like this? Looking at the Tang family members, Tang Ying felt that if they found out about Gong Jinglin's identity, they would probably cause a lot of trouble. With Gong Jinglin's identity, who knew what kind of trouble he would cause in the future? He probably even wanted to use her to deal with Tangwa. Tang Ying fell silent. If that was the case, she would still be harming Gong Jinglin if she got together with him. Tang Ying, who had a lot on her mind, was in conflict every day. On the other hand, the Tang family Tang people had a hard time. Their buttocks hurt every day, and they also heard very bad news. The people from the family Tang village did not go back. Tangwa made the decision to move all of them to the capital. The place where they lived was at the foot of the mountain where the Tang family's farm was. She asked people to build a house there, rented land for them, and gave them work on the farm. When they heard this, the Tang family members were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Madame Wu was so angry that she almost fell ill. That ingrate. I'm so angry. At this moment, the people from the family Tang village looked at Tangwa like she was a living Buddha. Chapter 29:18. The cost of building the house will be offset by your future salary. After the offset is done, the rest will be earned by yourselves. Those who work hard will get rewarded. Those who don't work hard will get rewarded. Family Tang Village is a remote place. Even if you work hard for your entire life, you won't be able to make a name for yourself. I also came from there. Since you haven't forgotten me, of course, I have to help you. Tangwa looked at the people of Family Tang Village. Whether you can establish a foothold here will depend on your diligence. There's no special treatment here. Everyone is treated equally. Those who are capable will be able to obtain more. During this period of time, you also know my personality. If anyone relies on the fact that they came from the same place as me and is lazy and causes trouble, they will be dealt with according to the rules. The people of Family Tang Village remembered this and did not dare to be careless. This opportunity was simply a step to the sky. They were all people who had died once, so they would cherish it. They could not help but despise the people of Family Tang Village in their hearts. Such a good girl, yet they had to mistreat her. Look, this was retribution. When they came back to their senses, they all looked at their own girls and silently changed their views. They should treat their own girls better. Who said that women were not as good as men? Wasn't this the case in front of them? They should not follow in the footsteps of Family Tang Village. Tangwa did not know that her unintentional action had caused the girls of Family Tang Village to be valued very differently. When the people of Family Tang Village became richer, they were actually willing to let their girls learn more words. The girls of Family Tang Village all looked up to her as a role model. They were serious in their work and worked even harder than the men. Under this influence, there were really some outstanding girls of Family Tang Village. The people of Family Tang Village did not dare to cause trouble in front of Tangwa anymore, but their ability to cause trouble did not weaken at all. They did not do any work. The whole family was supported by Tang Ying's medicine shop. Tang Ying and Gong Jinglin's relationship had become much closer. Seeing that she was worried all day, she wanted to help her a little. She even proposed to marry her. She did not expect Tang Ying to reject her. I'll get you into trouble. Tang Ying lowered her head and said, if they find out about your identity, they'll cause you trouble. Since you know that they are all trouble, why do you still listen to them? Is it because they treat you well and listen to you that your heart softens? Haven't you ever thought that they're only nice to you because they want something from you? Tang Ying was silent for a while before she said, I know. They want to get wealth and glory from me. Since you knew, why didn't you resist? Tang Ying was a little confused. They didn't do anything wrong to me. How can I resist? That's because they're sure that they can get what they want from you. That's why they won't do anything to let you down. Gong Jinglin thought that he needed to use a heavy dose of medicine. Every time he saw his uncle and aunt loving each other, even if his uncle wasn't as smart and was much smarter than him, he could still hug his wife to sleep at night. He was not young anymore, but he still stayed alone in an empty room every day. He missed Tang Ying so much that he was about to become lovesick. Tang Ying felt very uncomfortable under Gong Jinglin's gaze. She had nowhere to hide from his burning gaze. Ying, do you believe that I'm wholeheartedly good to you? Tang Ying answered without hesitation, I do. I know that you can't do anything to the family Tang people, but if you continue like this, they will affect your life. Are you really willing to be entangled with them for the rest of your life and not be able to live a happy life? Because they have never treated you harshly, you can't be ruthless. But what if you no longer have the wealth and glory that they hope for? Tang Ying looked at Gong Jinglin in confusion. What do you mean? This time, listen to me, Gong Jinglin said. If their final choice is still to treat you the same as before, I, Gong Jinglin, will accept it. I'll marry you and take care of them at the same time. If they treat you differently, I'll marry you and send them back to the family Tang village. What do you think? Chapter 29:19. After slandering Tang Hua last time, the Tang family members were beaten 30 times. They finally understood what it meant to be an imperial power and what it meant to be a nobody. Although every time Tang's carriage went out of the city from the Commandery Prince's mansion, the family of Tang still couldn't help secretly watching. In the face of the powerful guards on both sides of the carriage, they didn't dare to act rashly. After the previous lesson, they didn't dare to take a step forward. The main reason was that Tang's household register had long been separated from the family of Tang, and now she had lived in the Commandery Prince Romping's mansion in the capital. In other words, although Tang's surname was Tang, she was no longer a member of the family of Tang. Thinking of what the emperor said in the throne room that day, they still felt weak in the legs. Did they resent Tanghua? Of course they did. However, ordinary people like them couldn't afford to provoke the imperial family. Tanghua could sue them because she didn't care about the family of Tang. They were unwilling to give up at first, but after analyzing the pros and cons, they thought that if they continued to make trouble here, they might lose their lives. Especially later, Great Elder Princess appeared and said a few words to them. If they dared to provoke her again, there would be no place for them to stay in the capital. Looking at Tang's carriage leaving, they were filled with hatred, envy, and a trace of regret. If they had known that this girl was so powerful, they wouldn't have fallen out with her. Well, don't think about these useless things. Don't we still have Ying? Tang Fengshou said. He looked much calmer than others, but in fact, he was unwilling to give up. But when he thought of the 30 beatings he had received before, he felt a great pain in his butt. This might be the first time in his life that he had been beaten. It would be a disgrace if he told others about it. Grandpa, Ying is in the drugstore all day long. She is either treating patients, getting medicine, or reading medical books. Didn't you say that Ying is promising? Why has she been in the capital for so long? I don't think she can compare with Xiao Guo in her life. The person who spoke was Tang's cousin, Tang Ping. There were very few people in this family who had not been reborn. She had disliked Tang Ying for a long time. Although she was much prettier now, the whole family cared about Tang Ying and said that she was promising. In her opinion, this might not be the case, right? Xiao Guo was at least the owner of the Tang family's farm and the princess consort of Romping Commandery Princess. With the support of the emperor and Great Elder Princess, how could Tang Ying stand out? She had inquired about Great Elder Princess's status in the emperor's heart. Even the concubines in the imperial palace had to be respectful in front of Great Elder Princess, let alone the princes of the emperor. Great Elder Princess was the elder of the prince's grandmother. In short, Tang Ping did not think highly of Tang Ying. She thought that the whole family was crazy. Back then, when they doted on Tanghua, she was more convinced. Tanghua had been smart since she was a child. She learned everything faster than others. Even embroidery was better than them, so it was natural for them to dote on her. Suddenly, they inexplicably abandoned the watermelon and picked up Tang Ying, a sesame seed. She couldn't understand. If they hadn't offended Xiao Guo, the family would have settled down in the capital and worked in the farm like those people in Family Tang Village. They were related by blood, so they would definitely have a better life than the people in Family Tang Village. What do you know? Madame Wu scolded. Ying is a good girl. It's only a matter of time before she becomes rich. Chapter 29:20. Tang Ying could clearly sense the impatience of the family. The family had always been staying in the house that Gong Jinglin had arranged for them. She was the one who took care of all the expenses of the family. This was not a big deal. After all, she was capable and could still earn some money in the capital. Gong Jinglin had already settled a place for her to stay, so it was not a problem to support a family. The problem was that this family seemed to really think that they were out of poverty. They did not do anything all day and just stayed in the house as masters, madams, young masters, and young mistresses. After dinner, Tang Ying reminded the family appropriately if they wanted to find some work in the capital. If they wanted to settle down in the capital, they still had to earn some income. She opened a medicine shop. The people inside, including a doctor, were all found by Gong Jinglin. Before this, she had even asked the family if they wanted two of them to work in her medicine shop. She would still pay them their wages. She did not expect them to refuse. Now that they had been in the capital for so many days, did they really not have any thoughts? When the Tang family heard that Tang Ying wanted them to find work, they were all stunned. The first person to react was MDM Wu. Ying, did that young Master Lin help your eldest brother and second brother find jobs? Is that why you mentioned this? MDM Li's expression lit up. Ying, what kind of jobs did young Master Lin help your eldest brother and second brother find? How high is the rank of an official? Because of Gong Jinglin's previous performance, they thought that Gong Jinglin was an official. Of course, they did not think that he was a prince. In addition, when the family was sued last time, Gong Jinglin deliberately avoided it to prevent the other party from finding out and causing a lot of trouble. Tang Ying also deliberately hid Gong Jinglin's identity to prevent him from being implicated by the family. Your eldest brother and second brother are both not bad. Is the job that young Master Lin gave them promising? Tang Baolin asked. This matter concerned his two sons, so he still attached great importance to it. It was because of this that they did not propose marriage for the two of them. Firstly, the two of them weren't that old. They were only 17 or 18 years old. Secondly, they wanted to find a good job in the future. When their status was high, the daughter-in-law they married would definitely have a higher family background. Those village girls were definitely not worthy of his two sons. His eldest uncle's son, Tang Pingchun, was already 26 or 27 years old and had already gotten married a few years ago. However, eldest uncle only had one son, so he still brought him to the capital in hopes that his grandson would have a good future. No matter what, this family still believed that it was more important to have a son who could carry on the family line for the old family Tang. Little sister, hurry up and tell me. What kind of job did young Master Lin give us? How high is it? Tang Ying's expression was a little indescribable. She put down her bowl and chopsticks and looked at the Tang family members with burning eyes. Her lips and teeth curled up slightly. Young Master Lin has been very busy recently. I haven't even seen him. Did he arrange errands for big brother and second brother? She observed the expressions of the family members and could see the disappointment in their eyes. However, they still stared at her without blinking. What I mean is that we've been in the capital for almost a year. If we want to establish a foothold in the capital, we still have to find some jobs to make a living. Tang Ying noticed that the expressions of the family members changed a lot. As if she did not see it, she continued, now that I've opened a medicine shop, it's not a problem to support a family. However, if we want to be rich and save up a family fortune, our family will have to work hard. Chapter 29-21. I believe that with our family's hard work, we'll be able to accumulate a fortune sooner or later. She actually had many ideas in her mind. There were many rich people in the capital. Just by thinking of ways to make delicious food and open a small restaurant, they would earn a lot. Moreover, with Gong Jinglin's support, no one would come looking for trouble. There was really no need. Everything had to be fed to them. She remembered that in the second dream, Gong Jinglin and she both thought that the family Tang people were treating her like a bag. She had really considered all aspects of them. Gong Jinglin did not directly give them jobs because they were illiterate. With his temperament, he would not directly give them official positions. Therefore, he invited a martial arts master to teach them martial arts. The two of them were quite talented in this aspect and learned well. In the end, under Gong Jinglin's recommendation, they went to take the military examination. However, the two of them were not suitable for officialdom at all. Even if they were military officials, their official positions were very low. Their progress was not smooth. They either caused trouble or were ostracized. They often complained to her. If they could not be officials, they would invest in their business. Under the protection of the two of them, the Tang family members still stumbled along and often caused trouble, causing a lot of trouble. Didn't young Master Lin arrange a job for your eldest brother and second brother? Madame Wu asked. Ying, your eldest brother and second brother are so young and so good to you. Why don't you ask young Master Lin to arrange a job for them? Pingshan and Pingqing are good. I think they're suited to be officials. The others nodded and agreed with Madame Wu's words, indicating that Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing were indeed suited to be officials. As long as their family produced two officials, they would really bring honor to their ancestors. Tang Ying was silent for a moment and said, Grandma, young Master Lin doesn't have that much power. He can't make whoever he wants an official. This is under the Emperor's rule. Once he's discovered, he'll lose his head. Actually, she knew that the current dynasty had not implemented a real imperial examination yet. If one didn't become an official through donations, then one had to have talent and be recommended by others. Many talented people would want to take a teacher as their master. Usually, the person who became a teacher had a higher official position and was able to recommend talents to the emperor. Before they were recommended to the emperor, they would examine the person. If the person was qualified in their minds, they would be brought to the emperor for examination. If the emperor's performance was good, he would give them an official position. If it was some remote or minor official position, it could be bought. Furthermore, in some parts of the dynasty, there are countless cases of official positions being sold off. This was also a sore point of the current emperor, and he had been trying to change it. However, there were too many parasites, and the emperor sometimes found it difficult. However, in a place like Beijing, it was much better. As the saying goes, under the feet of the Son of Heaven, if one were to really infuriate a true dragon, it would be easy for him to find an excuse to deal with the other party. The imperial examination system had actually been proposed long ago. However, such a system was not something that could be completed in a day or two. The predecessors built the roads, and the descendants enjoyed the blessings. The predecessors planted the trees, and the descendants enjoyed the shade. It was only through the efforts of the current emperor and the succession of Gong Jinglin that these systems could be implemented one by one. Therefore, as the next emperor, Gong Jinglin probably already had some ideas. The current emperor's plan was handed over to Gong Jinglin. Therefore, Gong Jinglin would definitely not touch this bottom line. The Tang family people thought of everything too simply. Chapter 29-22. After Tang Ying's explanation, the family was very disappointed. At the same time, they also thought highly of Gong Jinglin in their hearts. This young Master Lin's status was probably not as high as that fool's. Perhaps it was because they were so disappointed that they had some opinions about Tang Ying. When Tang Ying was free, she helped the family find work and suggested that they do it. Then let's do some work first, Tang Fengxiu said. They could not go on like this. He was also very disappointed. It turned out that young Master Lin was not as powerful as he had imagined. It was mainly because they had Tang Hua as a comparison. Otherwise, they would not be so disappointed. The Tang family members reluctantly went to work, especially Tang Pingshan and his brother. They were very unwilling to do so. They had agreed to help them find work, but in the end, young Master Lin was useless. This little sister was not as powerful as their eldest sister. The two of them were working as waiters in the restaurant. When they were free, they would discuss the current situation. It seems that young Master Lin can't compare to eldest brother-in-law. If I had known earlier, I would have treated eldest sister better, Tang Pingqing said. Tang Pingshan mocked. So what if he treated her better? She's not an ingrate. How could she think of us? Have you forgotten what happened in your previous life? Of course, Tang Pingshan remembered. He hesitated for a moment and said, Actually, eldest sister did her best in her previous life. Eldest brother, we all know that eldest sister's life was not good in Squire Zhang's house. It was not good, but it was better than starving to death. She wore silk and satin and ate delicacies. When there was a famine, the courtyard was filled with the fragrance of meat. Tang Pingshan lowered his voice. But what did she give us? Maybe she can't make the decision. Even if she can't make the decision, she is still Squire Zhang's daughter-in-law and the young madam of the Zhang family. Even those jewelry can be exchanged for a lot of money, right? The two of them did not speak anymore and continued to work. They carried the dishes and sent them to a VIP room. Stay here and pour wine for me. Hearing the guest's order, the two of them could only stand aside. They did not dare to look too much, but they could feel that the people in the room were either rich or noble. Ninth Prince, have you really taken a fancy to that little girl from the medicine shop in the west of the city? Yes, I've never seen such a special woman. Since the Ninth Prince likes her, why don't you take her in? With your status, taking her in is a blessing that she can't cultivate in 10 lifetimes. I sent someone to ask her earlier. She said that she would only be a wife, not a concubine. This woman really doesn't know what's good for her. With her status, being able to catch the eye of the Ninth Prince was already a blessing to her ancestors. After entering the prince's mansion, in the future when the Ninth Prince succeeds, she will be able to enter the palace and become an imperial concubine. What's wrong with that? Don't talk nonsense. I didn't think about it that way. If she was willing to enter the Fu in the future, I would be an idol Wang Yi. No matter what, I would make her a concubine. If it wasn't for her low status, I would really want her to be a princess consort. The two brothers listened to the whole story. After the guest left, they hurriedly ran to the west of the city. Sure enough, other than Tang Ying's pharmacy, there was nothing else there. They were afraid that the news was fake, so they observed for 2 days and found that people really did send gifts to Tang Ying every day, but they were all rejected by her. Therefore, the two of them went home and told the family about this matter. Madame Wu immediately jumped up. Is that person really a prince? Chapter 29-23. Grandma, I'm sure that it's really a prince. It should be the Ninth Prince. He likes the food in that restaurant very much. The shopkeeper asked them to serve him well and be especially respectful. He's been here a few times. Every time he comes, he misses little sister. It seems that he really likes little sister, Tang Pingshan said. Tang Pingqing added, we even went to wait outside the medicine shop. Little sister kept rejecting the gifts they gave her, but the other party didn't get angry. Every time they talked about little sister, they had a look of regret on their face. He's the Ninth Prince. Even with our status, he didn't snatch her away. It's obvious that he really likes little sister. The family Tang people were energized. They decided to confirm it again. The Ninth Prince was a prince who might become the emperor in the future. If their Ying entered the prince's residence, she would at least be an imperial concubine in the future and give birth to a prince. The more they thought about it, the more the family Tang people could not hold back. Once they confirmed it was true, they had to persuade Tang Ying. At this moment, Gong Jinglin was talking to Tanghua about something at the Tang family's farm. Auntie, you won't blame me, right? Tanghua smiled and said, why would I blame you? Do what you should and do well. When everything is over, chase them back to family Tang village. That place is the most suitable for them. Gong Jinglin understood. Perhaps his aunt was his aunt, but she should have been reborn like the family Tang people, right? For this reason, he had specially sent people to investigate Steward Zhang's family. Steward Zhang's only son was indeed unreasonable. When he sent people to investigate, Tang Xing was already tortured beyond recognition. He had told Tang Ying about this matter, and finally got someone to settle Tang Xing down. Auntie, there are still many things waiting for me. I'll take my leave first. Okay. Tanghua's mother sent Gong Jinglin off. Then, a pair of hands covered her eyes. Sheng Yin's voice sounded, wife, you're not allowed to look at him. Tanghua reached out and held his hand. If I don't look at him, who should I look at? Sheng Yin sat opposite her with a serious expression. Look at me. His tone was extremely fierce, but it sounded like he had not been weaned. Okay, I'll look at you. Host. Gong Jinglin's move really hit the nail on the head. No matter how soft-hearted Tang Ying was, what happened next would probably make her completely disappointed in the Tang family. He's the male lead after all. This kind of thing is a piece of cake. The world was still waiting for him to change it. If he can't even do such a simple thing, How could the emperor hand over those important systems to him and still pave the way for him? The current emperor was not a muddle-headed person, but he clearly knew that changing these things could not be done overnight. Therefore, he chose to be the one paving the way. Father and son worked together to change this dynasty and walk in a new direction. After the Tang family members discussed it, they were very decisive. After comparing the ninth prince and Mr. Lin, they finally chose the ninth prince. When Tang Ying heard Madame Wu's words, although she had expected it, she still couldn't believe it. She said, "Grandmother, the one I like is young Master Lin." "Ying, how can young Master Lin compare to the ninth prince? Look at how good the ninth prince is to you. He sent you so many good things. I can't even count them all. These gold head ornaments are all rare things. Only those madams can have them. Besides, I haven't seen young Master Lin twice since he came to the capital. Perhaps he has already forgotten about them. But young Master Lin helped us find a place to stay. I was also able to open a medicine shop because of young Master Lin," Tang Ying said. Chapter 29-24. The ninth prince agreed. "As long as you're willing to marry into the family, they'll give us a bigger house with a better location and better lighting. It'll be much bigger than this place. They'll also send some maids and servants over," Madame Wu said with a smile. Moreover, he also promised to help your eldest brother and second brother with some errands. In the future, your eldest brother and second brother will become officials. Don't you like them? They dote on you so much. Everyone was trying to persuade her. This made Tang Ying's heart turn cold. She said stubbornly, "But I only like young Master Lin. I don't want to be anyone's concubine. Young Master Lin said that he'll definitely marry me." "What concubine? Wife? Do you really take this man's words seriously? Even if he marries you, won't he take in concubines? These noble men must have many wives and concubines. Ying, how can you be so naive? Since it's all the same, why don't you choose a noble one? You might even become an imperial concubine in the future. When you give birth to a prince, you can still fight for it," Madame Zhang said. "Grandmother, mother, I really don't like the ninth prince. Help us get him back." Tang Ying thought that whether it was in the second dream or the first dream, Gong Jinglin had promised her that they would be together forever. Not only did he promise, but he also did it. In this world, not all men had to have many wives and concubines. At least, Gong Jinglin was different. For a few days, the family members tried to persuade Tang Ying. However, she refused to listen. She went to the medicine shop every day, which made the family members a little impatient. The ninth prince's people also urged her every day. They even said that if Tang Ying did not agree, then forget it. They would carry the betrothal gifts back. Naturally, the previous promise would not count. This made the family members a little flustered. However, the ninth prince made another decision. He gave Tang Pingshan first. Tang Pingxing planned the errands and let them do it. He also sent people over and moved them all to the big house. A group of maids and women served them. After enjoying the family for more than 10 days, they all liked such a luxurious life. At this moment, the ninth prince's people came to urge her again. They asked when the Tangwa would agree. If she didn't agree, then everything would return to its original position. Wouldn't returning to their original positions mean stripping them of everything? When Tang Ying was forced into the palanquin, she could not believe it. It was just like how they had forced her elder sister to marry her brother-in-law. She found it ridiculous. Tang Ying was naturally not carried into the ninth prince's residence. Instead, she was carried into another residence prepared by Gong Jinglin. There was indeed a ninth prince, but he was Gong Jinglin's younger brother. He was only 13 years old this year. Third brother, this is our future sister. The ninth prince shook his head. Future royal sister-in-law, third brother is doing very well. You can stay here. When third brother's matters are settled, I will marry you. The ninth prince revered martial arts and had no interest in power. This house is right next to mine. If anyone dares to disturb my future sister-in-law, just shout twice. I promised my third brother that I would protect you. Tang Ying thought that the ninth prince was joking. Later on, she saw this young man shatter a wall with a single palm strike. Only then did she believe it. princes would not be chased out of the palace until they were 15 years old. However, the third prince could not stay in the palace. He said that he often practiced martial arts and would damage the palace if he was not careful. He damaged the palace several times. The emperor was afraid and quickly chased him out. Ying, trust me. Don't worry anymore. I will take care of everything. Chapter 29-25. Gong Jinglin said, "Perhaps this is a little cruel to you, but indecisiveness will lead to trouble. When you saw what they did today, you understood that they don't care about you. If they really care about you, they would have made a different choice this time. Even if they're a bunch of trouble, I'm willing to accept them." Tang Ying nodded repeatedly. No need to say anymore. I know. You handle it. She was just a transmigrator and did not have much feelings for the family Tang. The only thing that troubled her was that they had always been too good to her. Actually, how could she not have guessed it? She just did not want to believe it. Now that everything was clear, there was no need to do anything. Ever since Tang Ying was carried into the ninth prince's residence, the family Tang's life was still comfortable. However, Tang Ping hesitated. Will Ying really not bear a grudge if we do this? What if Ying bears a grudge and ignores us like Xiaoguo in the future? Won't the result be the same? Actually, Tang Ping was very afraid. For the sake of glory and wealth, they had sent away Xiaoguo and now sent Ying away. They had used almost the same method. Although she was not a peerless beauty, she had been well taken care of in the past year and could be considered a pretty daughter of a humble family. Perhaps this family would also send her away for some reason. Thinking of this, Tang Ping was very desperate. Ying is not Xiaoguo. She won't forget her roots. When she becomes an empress in the future, she will remember our kindness, Madame Wu said. Madame Li fiddled with the golden bracelet on her wrist. Yes, Ying is not that ingrate. She won't bear a grudge. The others were the same, including those who had been reborn. They were so sure because they had never treated Tang Ying well. They had treated her harshly since she was born. However, at the end of her previous life, when Tang Ying left, she still left them so much money. It could be seen that Tang Ying really did not bear a grudge. When her life was better in the future, she would forget these things. Tang Ping felt a chill down her spine when she heard this. Gong Jinglin did not let the family Tang move out for the time being. Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing did their jobs well. However, as before, they had bad tempers and were especially arrogant. They did not get along well with others and were easily ostracized. However, the two brothers were certain that Tang Ying was going to become the empress, so they were very arrogant. Before this, he had told them to let them dance for a while. It was not until half a year later that the family was chased out of the house by someone who came out of nowhere. The other party told them that the house had been sold. The family Tang had forgotten to check where Tang Ying had been carried to. He couldn't find anyone to help him, so he was chased out awkwardly. However, it was still Tang Pingshan who found the housekeeper who had brought them to the mansion and asked to see Tang Ying. The butler glanced at him. Who is Tang Ying? After Tang Pingshan's explanation, the butler finally remembered. Are you talking about the lady who opened the pharmacy in the west of the city half a year ago? Yes. She was sold off a few months ago. She swore that she would rather die than submit. My master got impatient and sold her off. In any case, she's just a concubine. Since master doesn't like her, then it's best to sell her, so as to avoid bringing bad luck to the family. What? All right, don't ask so much. I don't know where she was sold to either. Back then, young master gave you so much money and let you live in this house for so long. It has long surpassed Tang Ying's value. Hurry up and get lost. Don't make young master unhappy. If you're looking for someone, go ahead. I'll point you in the right direction. Just point to the red light district and look for him. The family Tang was dumbfounded. When Tang Hua found out that the family Tang was going to sue the ninth prince, she spat out a mouthful of water. Big sister, what's the matter? Tang Ying asked. Gong Jinglin was afraid that she would be bored alone, so he sent her to Tang Hua's place. She asked curiously when she saw Tang Hua almost choking when she read the letter. Chapter 29-26. That's what happened. Tang Hua saw that Tang Ying was also stunned and said with a faint smile, I don't know who gave them the courage to think that they can sue the prince whenever they want. Putting everything else aside, Tang Ying was originally unwilling to enter the ninth prince's residence, but they forced her into it. Just like how they treated her, not only did they shove her in, but they did not even look at her, let alone care about how Tang Ying would be doing in the ninth prince's residence. Was it because they thought that if they moved to a bigger house, with a bunch of maids and women serving them, and a large sum of money, and Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing being given jobs, they would be able to sit back and relax? In her opinion, this family was a one-off business. They would look for Tang Ying when they needed her. Now that they were living a comfortable life, what else could they want? Also, Tang Ying's resistance made them dissatisfied. In addition, the ninth prince's tough attitude made them think that if they shoved Tang Ying in, the other party would definitely be rich and prosperous. I overestimated them. When Tang Ying heard that the family Tang people only remembered her after half a year, it was only because they were chased out of the family. She recalled the reason why the family Tang people could stay so close to her every time in her second dream. That was because the family Tang people were always causing trouble. Every time they caused trouble, she was the one who solved it. She helped solve many problems, so the family Tang people naturally knew her importance. In the past half a year, the family Tang people lived very comfortably. Almost everything was avoided, and they did not cause any trouble. They only remembered her after they were chased out of the family. Now that they had sued the ninth prince, Tang Ying was also part of the family Tang people, so she completely gave up and did not intend to care about it anymore. The reason why the family Tang people only remembered Tang Ying after so long was because Gong Jinglin had been worried sick about them for the past half a year. In order to let them live comfortably for the first half of the year and not remember Tang Ying, he arranged for people to watch over the family Tang people every day. This was not a simple job. In order to let him and Tang Ying have a good life in the future, he had indeed put in a lot of effort. Big sister, I understand. Tang Ying felt relieved. From now on, I won't waver in the slightest regarding their matters. Gong Jinglin had done too much for her. How could she become a burden to him? She knew the character of the Tang family. Gong Jinglin must have done a lot of things for them to not cause any trouble for half a year. It was better to send the family Tang people back to Family Tang Village. That place was more suitable for them. Do you want to go out? Tang Ying shook her head. No. Don't you know what kind of people they are? Besides, I'm not as decisive as Big Sister. If I really show up, I can't guarantee that I won't be soft-hearted and help them when they beg me pitifully. If we help them this time, they might not be able to get rid of us after tasting the benefits. Tang Ying sighed. It's better to give them some money and let them go back to the family Tang village. You're still too kind. Tangwa laughed and said, You asked someone to give them money? Isn't that giving them hope? Let them think that there's definitely someone in the capital who's willing to help them. First of all, they'll think of you and the so-called young Master Lin. Maybe they'll think that you were sold and that young Master Lin happened to save you in the end. Then, they'll still stick to you and won't let go. Tang Ying was stunned. Then, Big Sister, what do you think we should do? Chapter 29-27. They only gave you your life. When they forced you into the palanquin, you were even with them. The money and houses they received were more than they could earn in a few lifetimes. So, you don't owe them anything. Why should you give them money? Now that they have falsely accused the ninth prince, they should be punished with dozens of paddles, banished from the capital, and deprived of the right to enter the capital forever. No, it's best that they can't take a step out of the county. Otherwise, they will be arrested as fugitives. Tang Ying was shocked. Then, she thought about it. Tangwa's words were reasonable. The person the family Tang people had accused was the ninth prince. The current emperor was a merciful person. Otherwise, they might have been killed directly. Why do you sympathize with them? After all, after they were chased out, they were injured with paddles. They might even die on the road, Tangwa said with a smile. Tang Ying's face turned pale. She was someone who had received a modern education, but she had lived in this world for a few years. She knew that this was not a world of human rights, but a world of imperial power. Imperial power was not to be casually offended. Do you like Jinglin? Tang Ying nodded subconsciously. Of course, she liked him. She had already planned to be with him for the rest of her life. Unlike in her dream, she would not tire him out. She had to help him recuperate and extend his life. Since you like Jinglin, no matter where he sits in the future, you can't drag him down because of a moment of kindness. If you are soft-hearted to those who have made mistakes, you will only cause trouble for him. There are many pitiful people in this world, but the Family Tang people are not pitiful people. In order to let you see the true colors of the Family Tang people, no, you have seen the true colors of the Family Tang people long ago. But because they have never done anything to hurt you, you can't even stay away from them. Once they beg a little, you can't help but be soft-hearted. Jinglin has actually reached a very critical moment, but he is still willing to use half a year to help you deal with this problem. If you still can't be ruthless, maybe he won't say anything, but he will definitely live a very tiring life. He will be tired from protecting you, from helping you deal with all kinds of soft-hearted troubles, and from dealing with all the troublesome things around him. Big sister, I really know. Tang Ying almost burst into tears. Yes, whether it was in the first dream or the second dream, her heart had always been very soft, causing Gong Jinglin to help her deal with countless troublesome matters. If she hadn't been soft-hearted and stupid, with his intelligence and decisiveness, it wouldn't have been so troublesome, and he wouldn't have been caught by those old foxes. I'll have to disturb you during this period of time. It's fine. Feel free to stay. Tangwa smiled. She glanced at the door and saw the corner of the fluttering clothes. She stood up and said, I've chatted with you. That little fool has been waiting for me. He's been waiting for too long. Tangwa opened the door, and Shangyin hurriedly held her hand. Wife, it's time to see the hens line up to lay eggs. Let's go. I haven't forgotten. I'll forget anything but this. As Tang Ying watched the two of them leave together, an envious look appeared in her eyes. Although brother-in-law didn't seem like a normal person, he only had eyes for Big Sister. Big Sister was decisive and wouldn't be controlled by others at all. She lived a carefree life. Tang Ying clenched her fists. Although she was destined to not be carefree, she had to learn to be decisive and not be soft-hearted. People who have made mistakes don't deserve sympathy. Who would want such a girl? Betrothal and title only sounded nice, but it wasn't as practical as money. At this time, the 9th prince arrived. Imperial father, I heard that someone wants to sue me? A young boy walked in from outside the palace. He was handsome and had a cold expression. He bowed respectfully to the emperor and asked, I don't know who wants to sue me, but I have been practicing martial arts in the residence all day, striving to be able to expand the territory for Imperial Father as soon as possible. I have not gone out for many days. The members of the Tang family subconsciously looked at the 9th prince, and they were all stunned. Here, it's these people. They said that you, after hearing the emperor's words, the 9th prince walked in front of the Tang family people with a strange expression. Who is this Tang Ying you are talking about? This prince is only 13 years old this year, and I only want to practice martial arts. Chapter 29:29. This prince's Nigong mantra has yet to reach the Deshang level, so I'm not allowed to get close to women. You have to see clearly that the sin of slandering this prince is not something you can bear. The Family Tang people were dumbfounded. Your Majesty, this commoner can guarantee that it was really the 9th prince who snatched Ying and put her on the sedan chair. Then, he sold Ying and Mai. This was personally said by the 9th prince's butler. There's absolutely no mistake. The 9th prince asked, Then have you seen the 9th prince before? Then, the 9th prince even asked his butler to show up. The Family Tang people were still unwilling to give up. They shouted that it might be another prince who pretended to be the 9th prince and snatched Ying away. The emperor was a little unhappy. Although his aunt had told him about it, the shamelessness of this family still made him a little speechless. Old 9th, go and ask your brothers to come over. Then, he looked coldly at the Family Tang people. If there's no 9th prince like you said, then I'll punish you according to the law. Although the emperor is guilty of the same crime as the commoners, this is not a reason for you to falsely accuse a prince. The 9th prince's cheeks twitched. His father really knew how to lie through his teeth. Then, the family Tang people met all the princes, including the little prince who was still in swaddling clothes. When they saw a very familiar person among the princes, their eyes widened and they blurted out, "Young Master Lin." Then, there was no more. The family Tang people were unreasonable. First, they falsely accused the princess consort of wrongping. Second, they falsely accused the ninth prince. The emperor ordered them to be beaten 30 times, and then banished from the capital forever. They were driven back to the family Tang village and were never allowed to leave the county where the family Tang village was located. Otherwise, they would be treated as fugitives. The family Tang people have been thrown out of the capital. Tang Hua held the letter and said to Tang Ying, they saw Jinglin in the throne room. Tang Fengxiu was so angry that he fainted on the spot. At this time, Gong Jinglin was taking revenge on the family Tang people. For glory and wealth, he treated his beloved as a commodity. How could he bear it? Based on their current situation, Tang Kor and Tang Fengxiu's long journey will be difficult. Big sister, you don't have to say anymore. I've thought it through. Tang Ying chased away the pity in her heart. She could not be soft-hearted anymore and drag them down. I'll slowly get used to it. They brought all of this upon themselves. They can't blame anyone else. All right, Jinglin sent a message saying that the emperor will be bringing the princes over for dinner in a while. Then should I avoid it? After all, her identity was very sensitive. No need. Aren't you my little sister? You're also the doctor who helped eliminate the plague back then. The drugs that you developed to prevent and cure all kinds of diseases are very useful. Don't be afraid, your status is not low. Tang Ying's eyes were a little hot. Romping Commandery Princess Consort's younger sister indeed had a high status. Over the past few years, she had indeed been researching medicine for some diseases that were difficult to treat in the ancient world. She hoped to be able to shine here and help Gong Jinglin solve some of his problems. After the family Tang people were driven out of Beijing, they had no choice but to return to the family Tang village with their injuries. Tang Fengxiu and Madame Wu were also very lucky and did not die. However, when they returned to the family Tang village, they were greatly injured and often came looking for them when they were sick. Without Tang Ying's constant care, the family Tang village was empty. If they wanted to see a doctor, they had to go to the county. Everyone in the county knew about the deeds of the family Tang people and did not like them at all. Chapter 29:30. Although they still had some money in their hands, the whole family was lazy and had basically used up all their savings. Soon, the days were spent crying and being poor. Not long after, eldest uncle's daughter-in-law, Tang Pingchuan's wife, could not stand such a life and ran back to her parents' home. Tang Baolin and Tang Baowen were both over 50 years old and could only endure. The two old people could not work anymore and were not liked by them. They starved all day long and were hanging on by a thread. Everyone knew about Tang Pingshan and Tang Pingqing. They did not have any family background, so who would dare to marry into their family? The only young daughter of family Tang, Tang Ping, ran away overnight when she heard that the family Tang people were going to sell her for money and food. No matter where she ran to, it was fine as long as she was not in family Tang village. This time, the family could only gnaw on tree roots. Madame Wu and Tang Fengxiu starved to death. When they died, the two of them suddenly remembered that in their previous lives, there was a famine and cold weather, but it was not as bad as now. Although they did not eat well and wore good clothes, they still had something. Even if their old clothes were infested with worms, they could at least keep them warm and fill their stomachs. With such a loss, the two of them starved to death. Later on, the people who starved to death were Tang Baolin and Tang Baowen. After all, they were old and could not find food. If the young did not give it to them, how could they compete with the young? At this time, only 3 bachelors and a child were left in family Tang village. Later on, the child also starved to death. If the adults could not eat their fill, why would they give it to a child? After that, no one knew what happened. In short, after a long time, there was really no one left in family Tang village. Many years later, Gong Jinglin was already the emperor and Tang Ying was already the empress. Without the family Tang people holding them back, and with Tang Ying as a good wife, She would tell Gong Jinglin everything she had seen every night. This made Gong Jinglin's reform of the dynasty's system in this life even more perfect. Gong Jinglin realized that Tang Ying was still a little different from in his dream. She was much smarter than in his dream. Most women in this world could not compare to her talent. The reason why he said that was because his aunt should be more powerful than Tang Ying. Tang Ying also realized that Gong Jinglin was a little different from how he was in her dream. This fellow did not work as hard as he did in her dream. Almost every morning and night, he would practice his swordsmanship. Every 10 days, he would get the imperial physician to check on their bodies. It was as if he was especially afraid of death. Suddenly, one day, both of them understood something. Chapter 29:31. It was now June 30, and a sensational thing happened in the gaming world this month. A certain gaming company released a large-scale cultivation game, and it attracted a lot of people when the game was in closed beta. Now that it was released, the servers almost burst on the day itself. On the second day of the game's release, they were forced to release a new server that was prepared later to satisfy the needs of the majority of players. This cultivation game not only allowed Tanghua to raise her husband, but she could also raise her wife, son, father, and mother. In short, anything that you wanted to cultivate could be found in this large-scale cultivation game, and it could definitely satisfy anyone's needs. Tanghua's current identity was the only daughter of the richest man in the city. During the game's closed beta, she had already started to cultivate her account. The attraction of this game was that it could satisfy the rich to spend money to cultivate what they wanted to cultivate, and it could also satisfy some ordinary players to cultivate their game characters from ordinary to the most perfect state in their hearts. However, one of the most attractive aspects of the game was that if they played this game with a gaming pod, they could immerse their mental energy into it and talk to their cultivated characters, communicate, play together, and even have a relationship in the virtual world that they needed. It was as if it was a real world. However, the disadvantage was that the game characters were more silly in the early stages, just like machines, and were not as intelligent as real people. However, the gaming company revealed that the game would definitely surprise the majority of players in the later stages. By then, in the virtual spiritual world, it might be difficult to distinguish the characters that they cultivated from the real ones. Tanghua saw all of this on the gaming forum. The basic attributes of the game character that appeared on the interface earlier had already been confirmed. Name: Sugu. Age: 18. Identity: Tianqing Sect Young Sect Master, Tianqing Continent's No. 1 Cultivation Genius Spiritual Root, Supreme Grade Golden Spiritual Root Cultivation, Golden Core Peak Mount, White Dragon Appearance, Level 10, Max Level 10, Luck, Level 10, Max Level 10. There were more items in the item column. After all, the original owner had participated in the closed beta, and her family was not short of money, so she did not lack any magic treasures at all. The appearance and luck on the screen could be bought with money. Before looking at the memories, she really did not know why she appeared in this world. Therefore, she first checked if there was anyone at home, then lay back and began to receive the memories. The name of this game was very simple. It was called a cultivation game, and you could add any cultivation plant. Not only could you cultivate one, but also others. In short, you could find whatever you wanted to cultivate inside. Currently, the original owner did not only raise Sugu, but a total of 10. One of them was a husband plan, 3 were pets, and 2 were daughters. What surprised Tanghua was that she had 2 cultivation friends plants. Finally, there was a mother and brother. That's right, she raised her parents. Therefore, she raised a mother, a brother, a husband, 3 pets, 2 daughters, and 2 friends. System: rich. Basically, every day, she would take the time to upgrade these characters' abilities, attributes, and treasures. From this, it could be seen that the original owner was playing a game. However, her intuition told her that things weren't that simple. Chapter 29:32. Sure enough, as she continued reading, she understood why things weren't as simple as they seemed. The host was the only daughter of the richest man in the city. Her mother had died in childbirth, so her body had always been very weak. Even though she had been raised well, her foundation was poor. Even now, when she was 15 years old, she still couldn't do any strenuous exercise. Since she was young, she had always envied healthy people. She had also looked forward to playing with them. But after trying a few times, it ended in failure. Because every time she played a game that was a little too exciting, she might pass out. Every time her father hurried over, her classmates would be frightened by his ostentatious appearance. Although her father didn't say anything to the school teachers, he said that the host was just playful and didn't blame them. But after those classmates' families found out about this, they fiercely warned them not to play with the host in the future. If they really brought the daughter of the richest man to play and something happened, would they be able to afford the compensation? This was the reason why the host had two friend characters. She realized that no one wanted to play with her, and they were very careful when they spoke to her. The sensitive host understood their concerns, so she didn't force them. She was too lonely, so she eventually fell in love with games. She had also played all sorts of other nurturing games and competitive games before this successful nurturing game had appeared. So, games were really a way for her to relieve her loneliness. Even if it was just a game, she only treated it as a game. But she treated it very seriously. She kept those two friends as if she really treated them as friends. Because of her health, and because of the time when her pet cat at home made her fall into a coma and be hospitalized, although her father didn't do anything to the cat and just gave it to someone else to raise, the family was still not allowed to keep small pets. So, this was the reason why she kept 3 pets. These 3 pets were a cat, a dog, and a tortoise. Of course, she kept a mother because the day she was born was the day her mother died. In fact, she was sadder than anyone else. In fact, among these characters, the mother she kept had the best equipment and the highest cultivation. Of course, the things she kept were also the best. Speaking of which, among all the characters she kept, Suji's husband was one of the worst. She didn't spend much money and it was just a side character. Raising a younger brother was because her health was not good. If she had a younger brother, he could help her father deal with a lot of things when he grew up. Although her father would remove all the dangers around her and make her very lonely, she didn't blame him at all, because her father only hoped that she could live well and live on with her mother. Therefore, she had to live well. Chapter 29:33. If it wasn't to match the identities of the other characters, she didn't want to spend time on Sugu at all. Originally, it was just a game to accompany the original owner, but it was quietly changing. The people of this world probably didn't expect that one day, their entire world would be assimilated by this successful game. The entire world was assimilated into the Tianshan continent. For normal people, this was an opportunity, but also the end of the world. It was originally a game, but now it really became a game that played the entire world. When the world was assimilated by the game, the people who benefited the most were the people who played the game, as long as they seriously played the game and treated the characters they raised. Then when the world was assimilated by the game, these characters would treat them as the most important people and would wholeheartedly protect them to survive in this assimilated world. According to the original owner's crazy spending in the early stages, these 10 characters would definitely protect her in the future. But things weren't like that. The original owner was just a female supporting character who died before the world was assimilated into the game world. At this point, it was time to talk about the female lead of this world. The other party was also a player of this game, but she was just a normal student and didn't have the energy to raise 10 characters at once like the original owner. The other party only raised one. The game's plan was to randomly assign a character that you needed in the Tianshan continent. The female lead's name was Su Wei, an ordinary high school student. She was really ordinary. Her family background was ordinary, her looks were ordinary, and her grades were ordinary. She was the kind that couldn't be found at a glance in a crowd. When she accidentally came into contact with this game, she excitedly registered. She felt that boys nowadays were all superficial. The ones she liked wouldn't like her. The ones who liked her were basically all repulsive. It was these repulsive people who probably wanted someone prettier in their hearts. When this game came out, it could be said that it satisfied many people's fantasies. She didn't even think about it, and decided to raise a Prince Charming in her heart. Naturally, the character she raised would be the future male lead, the male lead who would protect her in the assimilated world and live peacefully. No matter what happened, the male lead who would always protect her carefully behind him. Actually, at this point, there wasn't anything special about the male and female lead. She raised the male lead, so it was normal for the male lead to protect her in the future. However, things weren't that simple. The character that the system assigned to Sue was originally a poor little mountain village. She was ostracized everywhere she went. What was even more frightening was that she was crippled and beaten up by the children in the village. The only thing special about the male lead, Nangongjin, was his red hair. In the background of the story, it was because of his red hair that everyone in the village thought he was a monster. Not only did they cripple him, but they also drove him to live in a small thatched hut. Summer was still fine, but when winter came, every day was unbearable. Originally, Sue was complaining about why the system assigned her such a role. After she asked the question, she was even despised by the system. The answer the service system gave her was, "You're so poor, you can't afford to raise someone with a good background. He's just a poor boy. You just need to feed him." Could it be that you think you can still raise the #1 cultivation genius of the Tianqian continent? Do you know what she eats for every meal? Chapter 29:34. That was because the game required an ID number, fingerprints, and IMAS to be registered. With the development of the game industry, everything related to the internet had long been registered with real names. If the ID number, fingerprints, and IMAS did not match, it would not be registered. Therefore, it was not possible to register a second account. Sue was a little reluctant to give up on the game. Therefore, she gritted her teeth and played for a while. If it was not fun, she would stop playing. She did not expect to be addicted to it, especially when she saw the poor little boy who was bullied by the villagers and could only live in a shabby straw hut. He did not even have shoes, let alone food. Fortunately, the boy was tough. He ate some wild grass and fruits, and occasionally hunted a wild rabbit and barely survived. Seeing the poor boy, Sue sympathized. Her mind was full of thoughts. This character was her future husband, and he was so pitiful that he did not even have shoes to wear. Therefore, she stopped eating snacks and used her pocket money to buy shoes and clothes for the boy. In fact, Sue really wanted to have a game capsule. That way, she could directly use her mental strength to meet the boy in the game world. But she did not have money. But in order to support her future husband, she planned to work part-time on the weekends and try to buy a game capsule as soon as possible. Now that game capsules were common, it would not be too expensive to buy a cheaper one. Things took a turn for the better when Sue went home from her part-time job on the weekend. On the way home, she picked up a very beautiful USB flash drive. Yes, it was a USB flash drive. At that time, the sky was almost dark. Even though there were street lights on both sides, most people would be in a hurry home and would not notice anything on the ground. But she noticed it because she saw that the USB flash drive was glowing. She walked closer and picked it up. It was a very ordinary USB flash drive on the market. There was no light at all when she held it in her hand. But because it looked new, she took it home. When she went back, she turned on the computer and let her future husband out to gain experience. She also connected the USB flash drive to the computer. At that moment, a miracle happened. The first thing that appeared was a manual for the artifact. Yes, the contents of this small USB flash drive called itself an artifact. With doubts in her heart, Sue finished reading the explanation. She did not believe the contents of the explanation. This was because the instruction manual stated that as long as she connected the USB to the computer and opened her character, she would be able to see all the characters in Tianqian continent. Not only that, she could also take the other party's items and give them to her character to use. As long as she had enough proficiency, this item would completely belong to her character, and it would even upgrade the artifact. To a certain extent, the divine artifact could also help her steal other characters' talents, skills, luck, and so on. As long as she could steal it, she would be able to use it on this character that she had cultivated. Sue's reaction at that time was that it was impossible. Even the top hackers in the world could not do this. After all, the company that released this game was a top gaming company. The top computer scientists in their company were definitely very good. Even if there were some loopholes, it was impossible to cause such a big accident. Furthermore, Sue had another concern. If she was caught doing such a thing, the game company would freeze her account. Chapter 29:35. Not only that, but if the amount involved was large enough, the other party could even sue her. Since the gaming industry had developed to this point, there were already laws regarding illegal activities in virtual games. It wasn't that she didn't want to, but she didn't dare to. But at this moment, another sentence appeared on the interface. The gaming company wouldn't be able to track her down if she used the artifact to steal items, so she could use it without worry. Humans were curious. Even if they thought it was impossible, they still wanted to give it a try. After struggling for a while, Sue decided to try and see if this artifact that looked like a USB stick was really that powerful. Initially, she found a person in the youth's village and planned to steal his items, but she didn't succeed. She found out why in the artifact's manual. It turned out that the villager's items couldn't be stolen. What she needed to steal were the items in the player's hands. As long as it was something that passed through the player's hands, she could steal it. Sue changed her target again, and this time, she succeeded. She stole a pair of shoes and a set of clothes and gave them to her husband, Nangongjin. She also observed the other party and the gaming company's movements. There didn't seem to be any movements. Later, she became bolder and planned to get more items for Nangongjin. After all, she really couldn't afford them. She was still a student. Even if she worked part-time, it would take a long time for her to buy a nourishment pod. Her plan was to steal the items that the players kept in their backpacks and didn't let their characters use them. Stealing a few items shouldn't have much of an impact. Later, some players on the forums said that the items in their backpacks would mysteriously disappear. Although they weren't important, many people guessed that those items had a time limit. The gaming company also found it strange. Some items in the game did have a time limit, but if the players bought them themselves, they wouldn't expire. But they couldn't tell the truth. They didn't know what was going on. On one hand, she thought of a way to deal with the players. On the other hand, she was looking for her younger brother. Sue realized that the gaming company really couldn't track her. After all, many items in the shop were the same. Nangongjin wouldn't be noticed if he used them. Just like that, she leveled up with Nangongjin. She stole more and more things. But because she only had one character, Nangongjin, she didn't steal much, so it wasn't a big problem. In the end, there weren't many things that could catch Sue's attention, and the players at the bottom didn't have much to say. The gaming company couldn't find the loophole, but there was nothing they could do. After all, they still had to earn money. This game had attracted many tycoons to play. They still had to find loopholes, but more importantly, they had to earn money. Sue continued to steal, and the characters she stole later were all rich players. A rich player wouldn't just raise one character, so they wouldn't even know that something had been stolen. In the end, she stole it from the original owner. Through the artifact, she discovered that the original owner had raised 10 characters. All of them had top-grade equipment, and their stats were all maxed out. She was speechless. The host was a tycoon. She even secretly stole things for Nangongjin. The host found out about this and asked the game company what was going on. The other party said that they could compensate her, but she didn't want to accept it. They wanted a clear confirmation. Because she had raised these characters with all her heart, every item, except for Suji's, was carefully selected, especially the character for her mother. The top-grade ice staff she had prepared for her mother was gone, and so was the top-grade feather dress. Actually, the ice staff and feather dress were stolen by Sue. She already had the gaming cabin and could use her mental strength to enter the game. When she met Nangongjin, she naturally had to make an outfit for herself, even though she didn't have any special attributes. Many of the original owner's things were missing, which made her very angry. After arguing with the game company, she fell down the stairs in a fit of anger and died. After the original owner died, all the items used to raise her characters were stolen by Sue. Sue found that the original owner's account hadn't been logged in, so she became even bolder when stealing. She thought that the tycoon didn't want to play anymore. When the entire world was assimilated into the game world, the skills, attributes, and items of the original owner's characters were mostly stolen. His noble identity and powerful cultivation had all sorts of problems. In the end, they all died. Chapter 29:36. Because Su Wei used the so-called divine artifact to steal the talent, luck, attributes, and top-notch equipment of the original owner of the body. Not long after the game world assimilated with the real world, they were all killed one by one. As for the male lead, Nangong Jin, who was raised by Su Wei, because he obtained the top-grade equipment, talent, stats, and luck, he protected Su Wei in the assimilated world and lived a smooth life. Su Wei, who had the divine weapon, was still able to use it after the assimilation of the world. Because of Su Wei's success, the divine weapon was upgraded. After the assimilation of the game world, the divine weapon could still steal other people's things. After the item was taken back, it would become normal-looking. Although the people in the outside world knew that their items were mysteriously disappearing, they didn't know that their talent and luck were also disappearing. Later on, when their cultivation stopped, they thought that they had reached a bottleneck. After reading the memories, Tangwa opened her eyes and returned to the computer. She checked the 10 raised characters in the house and began to level them up according to the original owner's actions. Great host, this world will be assimilated soon. Now that you've read the memories, do you have any plans? Also, Su Wei should be about to pick up the divine weapon. I don't think that divine weapon is anything good. Tangwa continued to farm experience and said, help me contact the 3 unrivaled and tell them about this divine weapon. Let's see if this divine artifact is a product made by the other party. Actually, after reading the story, she had a preliminary understanding of the use of this divine weapon. It was very similar to the so-called lucky stone. If one were to carefully distinguish between the two, they would find that they were both different approaches that led to the same result. Also, in a certain world, there was a person who took over a human's body and did bad things to her. These 3 should be from the same side because they did things in the same way. Great host, I've already sent the mail to the 3 once. I don't know when he will reply. The system couldn't reply at any time. For example, when traveling through time, there was no way to check the mail and reply. After all, in the space-time tunnel, the signal was especially unstable. Under normal circumstances, there would not be any unnecessary activities. In the distant dimensions, Tang Kuei had easily completed the mission of the world's client. He put away the blade that was still dripping with blood and looked back at the dark sky. He took out a handkerchief and wiped his palms. The bootlicking voice of 111 rang in his ears. He chuckled softly. Dear host, do you want to stay here for a vacation? Or do you want to leave this world immediately? Tang Kuei's tone was flat. Is there anything in this world that I'm reluctant to part with? Chapter 29:37. Or return to the transit station to rest for a few days. Ever since he had hugged this golden thigh, his performance had been increasing steadily. Every year, he would be the leader of the mission system. Basically, no mission taker could compare to his great host. After his and his great host's tireless efforts, his level was also increasing steadily. 111 thought of the wild system that had no serial number but was so awesome that it almost broke him. If they met next time, it was not certain who would win. Let's go back and have a cup of tea before moving on to the next mission. The girl said that no matter what we do, we have to strike a balance between work and rest. Don't damage our bodies. Tang Kuei seemed to have recalled something. His originally somewhat cold eyes had a hint of warmth and a smile. Seeing this, 111 wasn't sure if he would be able to defeat that wild system the next time he encountered it. Even if he could beat it, his great host might ask him to go easy on it and let it win, right? Great host, get ready. Begin the teleportation. Beep. 111 system, you have a new mail. After hearing the mail notification, 111 and Tang Kuei were already in the space-time tunnel and could not check the mail at the moment. When they returned to the transit station, Tang Kuei made a cup of tea and sank his consciousness into the interface to choose a mission. When he saw a small world that had assimilated the real world into the game world, he could not help but take a few more glances. Because he had not played in such a world before, he decisively accepted the mission. 111 had just finished reading the mail when he accepted it. Tang Kui was already browsing the plot. In almost an instant, he finished reading all the plots. Then, he met the client. "Are you the client this time?" Tang Kui asked. "You are a game character. What mission do you want me to do? I am very curious." The client looked at Tang Kui and sized him up for a while before saying, "Although I am just a game character, after the real world and the game world assimilated, the two worlds have learned from each other's strengths and weaknesses. The real world gave the game character intelligence and life, and our game world also brought magic and fantasy to the real world. In fact, you can treat me as a real person." Tang Kui smiled faintly. "Then, what do you want me to do for you? You should know that according to the size of the mission, you will need to pay different amounts of soul energy." "I know. I am willing to use all my soul energy to exchange with you. Please help me protect two people." Tang Kui drank a cup of tea. "All your soul energy? You only need to protect two people?" "Yes, because the other party has a divine artifact and is very powerful. I'm not sure if you can deal with her. So, my biggest hope is that you can help me protect these two people. After the world is assimilated, protect them and prevent them from any danger." Tang Kui saw the seriousness in the other party's eyes. He finished his tea and stood up. "Okay, I'll accept this mission. You're very persistent and your goal is very clear. I like your personality. Even if you're just a game character, I still admire you. Therefore, I've decided to give you a set meal. Destroying the divine artifact that you mentioned is also my goal. The three of you, let's go. It's time for a mission." Hearing Tang Kui's words, 111 came back to his senses. Chapter 29:38. All right, Madam Host. All right, Madam Host, I just received an email from your Wild Sister's Wild System. The system watched as Tangwa continued to charge money into the game, farm equipment, and equip her 10 characters with top-notch equipment, skills, and attributes. In just a few days, her experience bar was almost full. Even Su Gu, who had been neglected by the original owner, she had upgraded his equipment. Actually, Su Gu was the #1 cultivation genius in the Tianqing continent, but the people outside did not know that Su Gu was not treated well by the original owner. His level was the lowest, and his strength was also the lowest. He was not even as good as the turtle in the basin. Tangwa threw money like crazy. Basically, she spent tens of thousands of gold coins, and then hundreds of thousands of gold coins to farm equipment. Other than raising the 10 main characters, she also raised a bunch of assassins and followers. All of them were high-leveled and were more powerful than the single character raised by some people. In addition, she liked all kinds of strange things, so she kept all of them. Seeing this, the system felt that its Madam Host was not raising cows this time, but goo worms. The game company saw that Tangwa was spending money like crazy and seemed to want to raise more things. Because of this, they released a Sect Master token in 2 days. One Sect Master token could summon 1,000 disciples. This was not in the plot. Although there were many rich people in the game, there was really no one like Tangwa who raised a bunch of characters seriously. The game company released the Sect Master token to satisfy people like Tangwa who wanted to raise characters on a large scale. There were 2 ways to obtain the Sect Master token. One was to find treasures, and the other was to buy it with money. The price of 1 Sect Master token was 100,000. After Tangwa saw it, 10 Sect Master tokens meant that she now had 10,000 disciples. Seeing that Tangwa was so generous, the game company gave out 1,000,000. The game designer thought to himself, with 10,000 disciples, I'll definitely need resources. I'll have to equip the disciples with mounts, right? Thus, the game company released a mount token. It was still a mount token that could summon 1,000 mounts. Tangwa didn't think that the game company was trying to cheat her of her money. They were giving her resources. Thus, with a wave of her small hand, she charged 1,000,000 yuan into her game account and bought 10 mount tokens for her disciples to ride on. When the gaming company saw this, they were a little excited. With such a big client, they couldn't just take her money and not give her anything in return, right? Therefore, the game company decided to give this rich player a weapon token. That's right, with a single weapon token, one could obtain 1,000 top-grade weapons. This was a special reward for this tycoon player. Since the tycoon liked it, they would design something for her that she liked. Tangua was very happy to receive the gift in return. However, she didn't know that everyone in the gaming channel was speechless when they saw her raising 10,000 disciples by herself. Although they were surprised, they were also very envious. Although the other tycoons also liked to play games, they didn't think it was necessary to spend money like Tangua to raise 10,000 disciples. If he had the energy, he might as well raise a few of them to farm for experience and skills, and equip them with equipment. It was much more interesting than this. After saying that, Tang Rongyi even felt funny. It's the first time I've done such a childish thing in my whole life. It's not childish at all. If Miss knew Sir's intentions, she would definitely be very happy. Sir is very busy. In the future, when this game character is developed, he can replace Sir to accompany Mississippi. Tang Rongyi thought about it and agreed. Don't tell Xiaoguo about this. I want to give her a surprise. All right, give me more money. Experience is worth it. If only money could solve this problem. Chapter 2940. Tangua had no idea that her cheapskate father was also raising a character just so he could play with her. He even raised a perfect brother who spoiled his sister. After resting for a while, she would be able to go back to school. After school, she definitely wouldn't have so much time to earn experience points. She handed this glorious task to the system. After she came, she asked the system to add many layers of defense to her game account. Once Su Wei's artifact appeared, it would be impossible to steal her things successfully. Of course, it would take a while for the other party to steal from her. Before that, Su Wei was stealing from ordinary players. Tangua checked the entire game mechanism and called the game company. Miss Tang? Tangua spent a lot of money later. Not only did Tangua spend a lot of money, the game company also found out that Boss Tang was also spending tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of yuan. Also, Boss Tang seemed to only have one character. So when Tangua called the company, they were of course treated like VIPs. I wonder if Miss Tang has any suggestions for us since you're calling? Tangua, it's like this. I've played many modes so far, and I especially want to play the challenge mode. I like the force challenge mode the most, the kind where you can knock off the opponent's equipment. Do you have such a mode in the future? There are many players now. You can dig for treasures and fight monsters in this game. Why can't you allow players to challenge it? To be honest, Miss Tang, we have prepared such a mode, but we don't plan to upgrade it yet. Can we upgrade it earlier? If this goes on, I feel like there's no way to spend money. The game company staff. Okay, we'll prepare it right away. Thank you for your suggestion, Miss Tang. Actually, we're already planning to upgrade this mode. When the time comes, we'll expand the map and build sects, gangs, and so on. Of course, in the future, we'll also occupy territory. So, this challenge mode is available. Please look forward to it. Tangua hung up the phone with satisfaction and added another 500,000 yuan to her account. She had no choice. Her father was rich and told her to spend as much as she wanted, as long as she was happy. The system asked weakly, "Dear host, I feel that you must have some ulterior motive for suggesting this to the game company." I don't have any ulterior motives. I just want to release that mode as soon as possible. It's best if there's a force challenge mode. At that time, I'll be able to challenge Su Wei and take all her equipment. If she dares to steal anything, I'll beat her back to her original form. Speaking of which, Tangua called the game company again. Miss Tang, is there anything else you need? I have an idea. When you challenge someone, if you can drop levels and continuously challenge them, you can beat them back to their original state. Wouldn't that be more challenging? System. This woman is too evil. Tangua was already in school. Her experience points were all earned with the help of the system. She only needed to charge money and equip her character. As for Su Wei, just like in the storyline, she picked up the USB that claimed to be a divine artifact. One day, Su Wei came back from her part-time job and picked up the USB drive. When he turned on the computer to play games, he suddenly remembered the existence of the USB flash drive and wanted to see what was inside. As the system was already connected to the game, she only needed to sync her consciousness into it to be able to log in. Player challenges appeared. Normal challenges required the consent of both parties. Forced challenges required a token. Tokens could be sold in the market or obtained by digging for treasures. Since the mandatory challenge token had appeared, there was also a challenge exemption token. It was called the challenge exemption token and was twice as expensive as the mandatory challenge token. Tangwa couldn't help but laugh. As expected of a money-sucking game company. You're really good at making money. Yes, a compulsory challenge token was worth 100. It didn't seem like much, but everyone could afford it. As soon as the system finished speaking, it saw Tangwa go to the store to buy a token. She bought 100 of them in one go. Very good, another 10,000 gone. Tangwa looked at the 100 compulsory challenge tokens in her bag and said excitedly, "After school, I'll send someone to challenge Su Wei and beat the male lead back to his original state." It wasn't that she didn't want to do it now, but Su Wei was also in class. Since he wasn't logged into the game, the challenge couldn't be done. System, I heard it. Dear host, you're super excited. Chapter 29:43. Because this game had just appeared, everyone was still trying to figure it out and had yet to sell it. There were limited slots in a player's backpack, unless one was a tycoon and used money to open up a slot. However, a normal player like her didn't have the ability to spend money. Su Wei clicked on the Cyan Moon Sword and gave it to Nangong Jin. Instantly, Nangong Jin was holding the Cyan Moon Sword in his hand. She was going to look through the other players' backpacks to see if there was anything useful, such as pills, attribute points, and so on. She could steal a little bit of each item. Players with a lot of them wouldn't be able to notice. Recently, she had leveled up Nangong Jin many times with this. However, the majority of players would use these stat points on their beloved characters as soon as they obtained them. Only a small portion would be kept. It was very troublesome to steal some. She had to go through the backpacks one by one. The divine artifact told her that as long as it leveled up, it would be able to lock onto players automatically. Those players who could easily steal items wouldn't be so troublesome. As such, Su Wei worked hard every day to increase Nangong Jin's experience and proficiency. According to the manual on the divine artifact, if it wanted to level up, it would need to increase the proficiency of the stolen items to the maximum level. The higher the level of the item, the more experience it would need to level up the divine artifact. At this moment, a dialog box suddenly popped up on Su Wei's game interface, causing her to be stunned. Player 1U sent Little Tortoise under Guagua Jam to challenge Nangong Jin under your tutelage. Su Wei was stunned for a moment. A forced challenge? She had some recollection. It seemed that during the previous level up, the system had updated many things. Among them, there was a forced challenge token between players. No. By the time Su Wei reacted, the interface had changed to the challenge interface. Then, she saw a huge tortoise charging towards Nangong Jin. The tortoise sat on Nangong Jin's body. Finally, the interface showed. Player 1U sent Little Tortoise under Guagua Jam to defeat Nangong Jin under your tutelage. Player, please work hard to increase your husband's strength. Dropped items. Level 1 weapon, Level 1 shoes, Level 1 apparel, Level 1 ring. In the blink of an eye, Su Wei saw her husband, Nangong Jin's items fall to the ground. He was left with only his underwear. She suspected that the system left her underwear as a last resort. Isn't it so unfair? To lose all his equipment after a single challenge? However, When she saw that the system hadn't discovered any problems with the equipment, Sui relaxed slightly. Nangong Jin to wear a new set of out to wear to Nangong Jin. Just as he put it on, the challenge frame appeared again. Player 1 You has sent Little Tortoise under Guagua Jam to challenge Nangong Jin under you. Player 1 USX Little Tortoise has defeated your Nangong Jin. Player, please work to increase your husband's strength Nangong to Nangong defeat, to Nangong to defeat and to increase. Player 1 USX Little Tortoise has defeated your Nangong Jin. Player, please work hard to increase your husband's strength. Player 1 You to defeat Guagua Jam. Player 1 You to defeat Guagua Jam. Player 1 You to defeat Guagua. Chapter 29:44. Sui really didn't understand why the graceful sect would challenge her out of the blue. What made her even angrier was that the opponent was actually a tortoise. In this day and age, there were still tortoises in the game. It was one thing for you to raise a tortoise, but you even raised it to be so strong. Basically, Nangong Jin would be flattened by the opponent with a single blow. He couldn't even react in time. Every time she had just finished dressing Nangong Jin, the opponent would come. She had even tried to buy a battle exemption token before, but she wasn't a tycoon. A battle exemption token cost $200, and it was heartbreaking. In the end, she could only watch as Nangong Jin was beaten up. There was nothing she could do. She knew who this graceful sect's Guaguajang was. After all, she was the tycoon champion, and there were always server notifications of her receiving the tycoon symbol. When she opened the server rankings, she was basically the top player in the entire server. She was a real tycoon. She didn't understand. She didn't seem to have any beef with that tycoon, right? Because of this, Sui tried to contact Tangua. However, Tangua had already blocked Sui, so she couldn't receive any messages from her. When Sui saw that the message failed to be sent, she understood that the tycoon had blocked her. She frowned and thought, could she have really offended a tycoon by accident? No, she had always been leveling up honestly. It was impossible for her to be a tycoon. Moreover, they weren't in the same server. That tycoon was in the first server, and she had only registered later. In desperation, Sui decided not to let Nangong Jin wear any equipment. She would let him wear his underwear first, in case that tycoon came looking for trouble. However, she was wrong again. Graceful sect's Big Orange Cat has issued a challenge to Nangong Jin. The challenge began. Big Orange Cat killed Nangong Jin with a single slap, and Nangong Jin lost 2 levels. Graceful sect's Big Orange Cat has issued a challenge to Nangong Jin. In just a short minute, Sui watched as Nangong Jin was killed by Big Orange Cat over 10 times. He had lost over 20 levels. Then, she realized that not only did she lose her level, she also lost her attributes. In short, Nangong Jin, who had been defeated so many times, was no longer as handsome as before. Sui had a bad premonition. Would Nangong Jin be beaten back to his original state after being challenged by the other party? She hurriedly went to look at the previous upgrade announcement. After reading it, she felt unwell. It turned out that when the game was updated, it had already been stated that after being defeated, if there were no drops, the player's character would lose a level or even revert to its original form. Most of the players felt that this plan was not bad. It was more challenging and interesting. After all, under normal circumstances, no one would be like Tangua, specifically buying a challenge token and challenging a character, right? In just a short while, Nangong Jin became uglier again. Seeing that Nangong Jin might become crippled, Sui hurriedly logged out of the game to ensure her safety. When she saw that the computer screen was no longer showing the game, she let out a long sigh. She slammed the table and cursed under her breath. I don't know if that tycoon took the wrong medicine. He just had to chase after me to kill me. It wasn't easy for me to raise Nangong Jin so well, but he dropped from level 50 to level 20 in an instant. He almost reverted to his original form. On the other hand, Tangua saw that Sui had logged off and laughed happily. The game company's planning is very talented. Chapter 29:45. She's quite talented. After all, she managed to make my host happy. Oh right, my host, Suwei's items have all been dropped by you. Now, she's back to square one and has to work hard to help Nangong Jin level up again. The system asked curiously, my host, do you think Suwei will give up just like that? After all, you've chased her back to her original form. If she gives up, won't there be no more games to play? I don't think she'll give up just because of this. Keep an eye on her and see if she's going to steal again. I'm guessing she'll come online again. When that time comes, I won't challenge her anymore. Otherwise, she'll be too scared to play the game. The system felt that his host might be thinking of something bad. Now that the compulsory challenge token is out, do you think the game company's next step will be to issue a bounty token? Also, my graceful sex disciples can't be raised for nothing, right? They can't just issue a compulsory challenge every time they look for trouble. If they use it too often, it'll seem like they're trying to show off. System. He's still a young system, so he doesn't understand the bad taste of old foxes like this. Offering a reward is quite common, right? Under normal circumstances, games like this will come out. I'm guessing that the game company is prepared for it. After all, the game has been in development for so long. Some things must have been planned long ago. When the time comes, they'll just add in some things and that's it. But if we use the bounty token too often, it'll seem like we're trying to show off. Tangwa tapped her fingers. So, let's create another assassin order. That way, our disciples can disguise themselves as assassins and assassinate other players. If the assassination fails, their identities can be exposed. If the assassination succeeds, their identities won't be exposed. This way, it'll be fairer. The price can be set higher so that the players won't dislike it. If most of the players can't afford it, there won't be so much trouble. System. My host is right. As long as you can afford it, it'll be fine. I remember that Nangong Jin has a hidden identity in the storyline, right? After all, there aren't many normal people with the surname Nangong. Furthermore, he's the male lead, so it's normal for him to trigger a hidden storyline. When his identity is revealed, Suwei will understand why he was assassinated. System. Fuck, you're so evil. Tangwa waved her hand and added some more money into the account. Then, he called the game company and told them his thoughts. If we keep using compulsory orders to challenge, it'll be boring if we use them too much. The game company's planner was speechless. When will your bounty be released? Tangwa asked curiously. The person in charge of the gaming company said, since Miss Tang has asked, we actually plan to stop the release of the bounty order next month. Come out earlier.